Hey there, fellow horse lovers. Welcome back to the Daily Ride podcast. My name is Morgan. I am your host. And today we are finishing up our conversation with Rebecca Gonzalez, a fellow boarder that I have had the pleasure of knowing at the Air Force Academy for I don't even know how many years now. So today is part 2 of our conversation. And if you haven't gotten caught up with part 1, be sure to pause here and go check that out first before we jump back in. As always, the Daily Ride podcast directly supports my nonprofit, True Heart Healing. True Heart Healing is on a mission to leverage the healing power of equine partnership and the joy of equine companionship to support and empower children with disabilities or life-altering illnesses, service members, veterans, and their families to help build stabilizing relationships, facilitate learning and personal growth, find hope, and discover their purpose. If this sounds like something that you would like to help support, check us out at www.the-daily-ride.com to learn more and make a donation. True Heart and I greatly appreciate your support. So, in our last episode, we left off talking about your family and horses and specifically how you ended up with Stardust. How is your husband's relationship with Stardust going?
So it's in development. With the 2 deployments, I feel like I've honestly poured a lot into Stardust personally. You know, my husband sees my bond with Tansy and he wants to replicate it, but that requires time. And when you work for the Army and they own you, you don't have a whole lot of time. And then when you do, sometimes the last thing you want to do is work, and horsemanship is work. So in his defense, he hasn't had the time, which means, I've had to pay equine professionals to help me out. His bond with Stardust is in the works, but he really learned to ride on Tansy, and he really loves Tansy. Like, he gets emotional over Tansy. And then it's funny because Pearl, he finds quite annoying because all she does is eat. Like, when we go out and ride, she's just constantly putting her head down, just always wanting to eat because the girl loves her snacks. But I told him, I'm like, it's because of Pearl that you've learned to ride, because during the season where he learned to ride on Tansy, I rode Pearl. And if I didn't have a horse to go out and ride with him with, like, he wouldn't have been able to go out and ride. And I was not going to let him ride without me. Like, those are my babies. He loves and respects Tansy and Pearl because they're the ones that have introduced him into the world of horses, and they've taught him a lot too. I think he just gets frustrated with Stardust, but it's the trial and error in horses that make us better. And they're so forgiving. I mean, there were days where I would be, oh my gosh, I'm in over my head. I can't do this. Tansy and Pearl deserve better, just being ridiculous. But in the moment, it feels legitimate. And then you get past it and you're like, man, that was a real growing moment. And so I'm just kind of watching him do that with Stardust, and I'm doing it with her too. I'm trying to take every opportunity. I mean, you just kind of have to get creative sometimes. You get out to the barn and you're like, I just don't want to do the same thing I did yesterday or the day before or the day before that. So you just look around and you're like, okay, what's around here? What's different? How can I make this different and fun? And I think it's just like, I'm a creative person. I'm an artsy person. And so when it comes to horses, I'm just like trying to incorporate that side of my brain, and like, all right, I want to do something fun today, but I'm sick and tired of the same old, same old. So how can I recreate something we've already done so that it's not hard and so they feel good about it? And so you can end on a positive note, but will, make the bond even stronger. And I can tell when they're engaged. Stardust is one of those, they're all really bonded now. So what we did when we got to the academy, Stardust was in quarantine, and then we put her in a stall because we were afraid we wouldn't catch her out in the field. So she was in a stall with a run for a while. But what we would do is put just my 2 girls in the arena with Stardust. So that's really what I think started their bond. So even when they were out to pasture, my 2 horses were still where Stardust felt most comfortable. Yeah. And we did that on purpose so that they would be bonded. And even just that's why ponying is important, right? Because even just Stardust seeing that the other horses are okay, she's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm okay. It's that confidence. And really, I think that's the biggest thing for Stardust. Like, she's big and large and in charge, but the minute you put her in a place where she's uncomfortable, she's like, I don't know what to do. You show her a horse that has confidence, that can lead out and go before her and show her that she's not going to get eaten by whatever, and she's good to go.
I can speak to that too. True, despite being as tall as she is, and she's getting pretty big too, she really benefits from going out on the trail with another horse that is really confident and been there, done that on all the spots in the academy. We kind of joke that True needs her emotional support mule, Rosie. Even though she's really mean to Rosie, when Rosie's on the trail with her, there's a visible difference in how relaxed True is and accepting and easygoing about her surroundings versus, like you said, head on a swivel, being worried that anything could eat her.
You never know. We went by a beehive recently where I have them now. They have a beekeeper come, and the beekeeper was there with her dog. So it was like bees, a person, and a dog. And that, like, their Stardust is like, they're never there. Why are they there? And she walked past them inquisitively but quietly. And it was like, okay, we are growing. We're maturing. Yeah, and, it's funny because having started in, like, the thoroughbred world and then going into the rescue world and then me being where I am now, what I've told people, like, horses are really fascinating creatures. I mean, our entire civilization was built on horseback, from battle to, using them in mining and making buildings and just infrastructure. Like, this country was built on horseback, truly. And even in other countries and other civilizations. And we've gone from them being an absolute necessity to them being a luxury. And I try and tell people all the time, like, if you have the means, there's so many horses out there that just need a safe place to land. And maybe they can't be ridden, but they have so much to offer. Even a horse that, like, gave their best to somebody for years that was just thrown away at auction, ended up in a rescue, or just needs somebody to just pet them every day, like, truly just pet them and acknowledge their existence, they're happy to pay you back in tenfold in lessons or affection or love or appreciation. Gosh, they're so appreciative, aren't they? Like, they're forgiving and they're appreciative. And so I just think that they have so much to offer people who can take care of them. And, like, listen, I realize, like, money is money, but, you can't take it with you. And I know for a fact that when I get to heaven, both of my horses are gonna be there to greet me. And, like, I personally, there's a lot of speculation on, like, what heaven will be like, but the God that I know, he wouldn't create something so perfect and so tailored specifically for me if I didn't get to see them later. And the thing is, when I'm with them, all I can do is thank him. Like, I'm so grateful. I'm so genuinely thankful for them, and I know that it's because of him. It's not because of me. It's not because of anything I've done. It's not because I deserve it. It's not because I'm qualified. I really feel like he qualified me. Like, he equips the unequipped. The people that feel like they can't do it are the people that can do it. And I just think that if more people would open up their hearts to learning horses and the opportunity to own one, have one, rehab one, love one, again, just in retirement even, like, you will get so much back. It's such a benefit, and, like, there's such a gift, and they've done so much for us that it really is a simple thing. Yeah, I mean, there could be medications that need to be managed and things of that nature, but, like, if you're willing to learn, you'll get so much back in return. And I just think that there's a bazillion people out there, my family included, that could take the steps to, rescue a horse or adopt a horse or provide for one in retirement or even not in retirement. There's young horses that need to be retired that can't be ridden. What is it that Winston Churchill says is the outside of a horse is good for the inside of a man. That doesn't have to mean riding. It's so much more. And Pearl is a perfect example of that. She had a doomed life from the age of 3 years old, really from the moment she was born. And I've had so many people either ask me if she's for sale because she's so beautiful, and I'm like, no, you don't want her. Like, she's a medical mess. Like, you don't want that. But also I would never do that to her. Like, I would be so afraid that she'd end up in the wrong hands, overused, or maybe she would break a leg and just have to be put down, emergently. And I don't want that for her.
Well, and she wouldn't be loved in the way that you love her. Like, even if someone could provide for her medically in her physical care, only you have that kind of particular specific love for her since you've had her and loved her and seen her and cared for her since her very first day on this earth.
Exactly, 100%. So I guess I'm just repeating myself here, but I just really feel like if there's anybody out there listening that has ever thought, "Oh man, I would really love to own a horse, but, like, it's just so much work or it's so expensive or it's not for me." Maybe volunteer to rescue, spend some time with them, get to know them, sit with them, get a lawn chair, put it in a field and just sit there. Like they will teach you something. They have something to tell you every day. Just the peace that they offer.
How do you respond when people learn that you have horses, that you're a horsewoman, with a statement to the effect of, oh, horses are so expensive, or that's a really expensive hobby? How do you respond?
I'm a nail technician and I offer like high-end quality services. Like my clients know that I have horses and I get the same thing all the time. Like same thing with why don't you just sell Pearl? Like lighten your financial load. And it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of complexities to that. And most of them are relational, right? Like it would be devastating to Tansy. It would be devastating to her. It would be devastating to me. And also these are people who don't know things that I've been through or, things that we've been through together, So I don't hold it against them per se. But I kind of say the same thing. I'm like, I could have more vacations. I could have nicer things. I could have bought a house by now. But like this is what I've chosen and I can't take it with me. I may not be able to go to the beach as much or I've never really been abroad and I would really love that. I love food and trying different foods and things like that. But like at the end of the day, if I've had a hard day and I go to the barn, sometimes it's hard to go to the barn. Sometimes you're just like, I just don't have the energy. I don't want to waste the gas. Just, I don't want to change or whatever. And you end up going in flip flops. Like, it's just, it's hard. It's hard. Or, just saying, I don't feel like going out and throwing hay. I don't feel like going out and filling water or God forbid your horse have a wound that you have to dress every day. You know all about that. It's like some days you just don't feel like it, but there's days where I sit like days like today where I can just ponder and be like, man, I'm so glad this is my life. I can't believe this is my life. This is what I dreamed of as a little girl. There are even days where I get frustrated where like, I wish Tansy was better. I wish Stardust was further along, or I wish Pearl wasn't sick. And it's like, right. But I never even thought I would own horses, much less own horses in my young adulthood. I thought I was going to be like an empty nester with like retirement money. That's when I was going to get horses. But now that I have them, like I can't imagine my life without them. It's not an option. I really feel like my mental health would be extremely at stake. I wouldn't be able to be a good mom. I don't think that I could offer myself as a wife, as a nail tech. And that sounds silly, but like I pour into my clients. Like when you have a job like I do, where like I'm in the service industry, and so I'm constantly pouring into people all day long. I'm an extrovert, I'm social. I like doing that. I enjoy doing that, but it does drain you. And like the horses fill me back up. And again, I don't have to go. I don't always go for a ride. I don't always sit in the pasture. Sometimes I go and I just scoop poop. Sometimes I go and I organize my tack. Sometimes I go and, just sit there and talk to them. I've sat in the middle of the field before and gotten like bug bites all over me and I didn't bring a blanket or anything. Sometimes I've been there cold, sometimes I've been there hot. Sometimes, it's just not convenient, but I always walk away feeling better than when I got there. And I think that's the moral of the story is like they make me better. I feel like I'm the best version of myself when I'm with them.
Do you practice a specific discipline or a training structure that doesn't involve riding?
I've already looked into it. I'd really love to look into Liberty now. That also, requires, if you get your horse to lay down on command and things like that, their joints have to be good enough where they can lay down and get back up okay. But I would really love to continue to nourish our bond without having to actually physically get on her. But you can teach them new things. And I think the bond will make something like Liberty even better. And I've like done things here and there from like YouTube videos, but like I'm talking about like real instruction, like really being able to do some cool stuff. I've looked into Liberty. I honestly, like, I haven't looked into this yet, but I think it would be really cool to certify her as like a therapy horse. I mean, I've seen them in Europe and stuff. I don't know if there's certain facilities that will let you actually bring horses into certain places, but Tansy would be the best. Like, she's so good at all of that. I kind of wish I'd have done it with Pearl. In South Carolina, where we're moving to, the farm that I'll be boarding them at to start is actually a therapy farm, and it was just started for kids with special needs and Down syndrome. And I have a really good friend who runs a whole ministry for that. And her son absolutely loves Tansy. And he's nonverbal, but he knows who Tansy is and gets really excited when he sees her and has done a lot of equine therapy. And I've seen so much life come from that. And that's the thing is like the horses are giving. They give, 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 give. And all they want in return is just you, just the way you are, you know, their basic needs met and just to show up. It really isn't that much.
Let's take a quick break from this week's episode to talk about one of the Daily Ride podcast's sponsors. So, you all know that I spend a lot of time around horses, which means when I get home, I want to get comfy and I need to get cozy, and I really need good rest. So, I'm super excited to tell you that Cozy Earth has decided to partner with the Daily Ride, and I have an exclusive discount code to share. Their products are made from bamboo, so not only are they incredibly soft, like buttery soft, they're also temperature regulating, so I don't wake up sweaty anymore, and I just enjoy cool, dry, comfortable sleep. Plus, their sheets are lightweight and durable. And listen, I'm not the only one who loves these sheets. Oprah has had Cozy Earth on her favorite things list for 7 years running, and Kris Jenner swears by them too. They've even been called the world's softest sheets on the talk, and honestly, I would have to agree. They also have the coziest bamboo pajama sets. I think I have like 5 of them, and they're the perfect mix of elegant looking and super comfy, stretchy, and breathable. Basically, the kind of pajamas that you don't mind being seen in and don't want to take off. Cozy Earth has thousands of 5-star reviews, free shipping on orders over $50, and even a 100-night sleep trial so you can see for yourself risk-free. Plus, they back all of this up with a 10-year warranty. So here's the exciting deal. I got the very best discount that they offer, which is 41% off the entire website when you use my code TheDailyRide, no spaces, at cozyearth.com. This takes 41% off of your entire order, and 15% of your purchase goes directly to True Heart Healing. So this is a win-win. You get their best discount, you're donating to True Heart Healing, and you get to enjoy the best sheets and pajamas ever. So head on over to www.cozyearth.com and remember to use my code TheDailyRide, that's TheDailyRide at checkout for 41% off the entire website. Now, let's get back into it. So, how would you say Tansy's personality has changed over the years? I find it really interesting that when you were first introduced to her, she was described as being kind of standoffish. And it's amazing to me that you're now considering training her as a therapy horse.
Yeah, she loves people. I had her spend time with my grandma before she passed, and she did great with that. So did Pearl. I mean, both of them are essentially two peas in a pod. Pearl is like extroverted and kind of like in your bubble, and Tansy's definitely more introverted. And I've noticed, like, it's funny because I'll get on her and she'll be like her fiery self and like wanting to go. But like, generally speaking, she has become a bit more of an old lady and just chilled out. But it's funny because, I mean, you could ask Dr. Shiloh, like, she still does not love a vet, probably because she was poked and prodded so much in the early days and just has had some trauma with medical stuff. She can still tense up like the best of them, and I get her adjusted, and she definitely carries her tension in certain areas. I've done stuff with her with like essential oil, raindrop therapy, massage, all that stuff. And sometimes I'll go out and like, I don't really actually know what I'm doing, but I just kind of like rub her down. And Anna Blake is a great author. I don't know if you've heard of her. I'll have to share some of her stuff. But she writes beautiful stuff about horses, and she talks a lot about just breathing and like breathing with your horse, doing breathing exercises. It brings your psyche down and it brings their psyche down, and it kind of like gets you both to be in sync. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tansy can still be uppity about certain things, but generally speaking, she's pretty chill. She's been intimidating for a couple people. I mean, Pearl intimidates them too, and I'm just like, there's literally nothing intimidating about Pearl. Pearl is a dog in a horse's body. So, like if you like a golden retriever, Pearl is golden retriever in horse form. She's just the sweetest. Tansy is definitely more like she's my horse, right? She's bonded to me, but it's almost like if I'm there, then she's good to go. Like I'm like the safety blanket. So if and I rarely, if ever, if I'm going to do something with her, I'm going to be there. So usually like if there's something stressful and I'm there, it's kind of like, okay, I really don't like this, but mom's here, so I'm going to be okay kind of thing. And I would say that's just more Tansy's persona is just like, okay, well, I've been through a lot, so this can't be worse.
How has your relationship with your horses changed or shaped your faith?
I just think they just caveats off of one another, you know. Our faith goes through waves. I don't care what faith you are. Like we're people and we're imperfect. And so, you know, we have these mountaintop experiences and these low valley experiences. And, you know, there's a really popular saying that goes with scripture that God's with us in the highs and the lows. And I have this thing where, I think especially in Colorado, people love hiking, right? And they go to these mountaintops and they love the mountains because no one's there. It's their escape from the hustle and bustle of life. It's just their escape from technology and cell phones and this, that, and the other. And for me, that's been horses. Like, I don't need the mountains to escape, right? They are my escape. But I think what holds true for me with the horses and the mountaintop experiences, we're not meant to, mountaintops are not conducive for living, right? It gets cold, the weather is chancy. We're not meant to stay on mountaintops, right? Like literally and figuratively. When we have these great experiences, we're meant to come back down and share them with others. And my horses have always been, I'm very, very protective of them, but they've always been something that I love sharing with other people because they have so much to give and offer. And so I don't know, I used to be really motivated to post on social media about them, and there's a huge following that has followed their rescue journey and their rehab journey, and I try and keep it updated as much as I can, but at the end of the day, like, those experiences are so personal for me and, like, deep into my heart, and those are the moments that I feel closest with God. I think it's wild that I can ride creation in creation, like be with it and in it all at the same time. And I think it is also wild that like these 1,000+ pound animals let us sit on them and like just roam through the woods. It's so freaking cool. And like that is when I feel closest with God. And a lot of the time I'm praising him and thanking him. And like I always say, like, that's my church, right? Like that's where I feel most in his sanctuary. And, the church was never meant to be a building anyway. But back to the mountaintops and valley low experiences. Like I've shared low horse experiences with other people too, and just been like, it really sucks right now. Like this whole Pearl thing really freaking sucks. But you know what? I'll tell you how Pearl's gonna go out. That horse has no idea she's about to be put down, okay? No clue. She's lived in discomfort her whole life. It's just another day in the life of Pearl. And I know that I'm doing the right thing for her. I know that I'm essentially giving her wings and that she'll be pain free and she'll be able to run free for the first time ever. But I will miss her dearly and I will miss her loving my daughter dearly. Like essentially she's Virginia's horse and we're about to lose her. And one of my best friends is a child's therapist and she also loves horses and she had the best idea. So Pearl is like mostly white. People can't see her on this podcast, but she's mostly white with a couple black spots and beautiful glass blue eyes. Now I'm going to tie up the hair because I do want to keep that. But we are going to go to town with some water-based paint and we are just going to finger paint and hand paint Pearl all over. She's going to love that. And that horse loves her butt scratches. So as long as we're touching her, she'll be happy. And she's going to go out the way that she was designed to be, which is therapy. Therapy for us, therapy for her. Like we all parties win. And so, she is going to get cremated, but the moments that she's put down, like her last moments, she's going to be covered in paint and love. So even in the valleys, even in the suckiest parts, they still have something to give and they're so willing to give it even if they don't have much left. And I get to share that with other people and Pearl will still get to give a piece of herself to them. And like it's invaluable, like I'm never going to have another Pearl. I'm going to have horses forever, but I'm never going to have another Pearl.
You can only imagine the immense weight of this grief and this loss for you, but I take some comfort knowing that horses are in heaven. My favorite part of the Bible is when they talk about the second coming of Christ and he comes riding a horse. And to me, that's always been the proof that horses, they're sentient beings. I think anyone who has loved a horse knows that there's a soul in there. And I think that soul is eternal like ours are. So I think it's a done deal that you will see her again in heaven. And that's why there will never be another Pearl because Pearl is living on. Her soul is eternal like ours is.
Yeah. I mean, why create something so majestic and beautiful that clearly have a bond with people and have done so much with people to not just let that continue on? Like, it's a good thing. He makes good things. I'm someone who, as a child, I didn't feel seen in my love for horses. Like, it was brushed aside. I had actually been told by my mom at one point that she'd hoped I'd just outgrow the horse bug. Clearly, that didn't work, but it's always going to be a part of me. And I can't imagine not having them in my life because it was such a deep rooted desire that has come to fruition so much sooner than I thought that it would. And to me, that's God just saying, like, you are worth it and I see you and this is what I have for you. Like, there's no reason I should have ever had horses when I did, or should have ever rescued them or been able to afford them or anything like that. But he made the way because he saw the potential that I had and how many people I've touched. Like, I can't tell you how many, military families even, right? Like, gosh, so many. I mean, I've had people who are like, I'm so afraid of horses, and like Pearl changed that for me because she's just so it's her, like, right, she's not able to take off down the road with you at a full
She can't go
run,
fast.
but it's, she's a licker, right? Like, you just put your hand out and she'll just lick you and she'll nuzzle you and she'll root around for treats. But she's a golden retriever. She has no mean bone in her body. You can't possibly be afraid of her. I don't care if you're afraid of horses. No one could be afraid of Pearl. She's just so sweet. But even with Tansy, like, I'm really protective and particular on who I let get on her because I've compared horses to cars before. Like, Pearl is like an old-fashioned Volkswagen Beetle. Like, she's fun and quirky and silly, but she can't go that fast. Super cute and like eye-catching. Like, you can't see one of those on the road and not see them. Right? That's Pearl. Like, you can't see her out in the field and not be like, "Oh my gosh, look at that amazingly beautiful horse." But like, she can't go fast. She's kind of like an old rust bucket, She needs new parts, but they're not available. Tansy is like, to me, she's, because her old leg injury, right? Like, she's not the fastest or whatever, but she is smooth. She's smooth as silk because she's gated. She'll literally do whatever. And she's like an old Cadillac that you just want to like cruise down a back road, and like just enjoy the scenery and the smells. It's like a full experience. Like, you're not going to just let someone get in your Cadillac and take it for a spin. Like, I'm real picky about who I let ride her, but like, I also really love sharing her because she's freaking cool. And then, people have their, ranch horses that are like your steady Eddie or like Honda Civic, and anybody can ride them. That's like your dude horses, right? Oh, I got a whole bunch of Honda Civics. They're good for anything. They'll do whatever, right? And then you've got like your drafties, your dualies. It's just funny. Horses are so comparable in so many ways, but I love my little punch buggy and my Cadillac. So I don't know what Stardust is yet. She's like a freaking Jeep Wrangler. She's like a lifted off-road Jeep. Like,
Yeah.
she can do all the things, but she has her quirks, and you have to know how to drive a Jeep, and you have to be confident to drive the Jeep. Yeah. She's my Jeep Wrangler. Lifted. She was wild caught.
Mhm.
And, she doesn't do arenas good. She'll do stuff in arenas, but don't stay in there forever.
Right, right. Yeah.
Like, don't stay in a round pen forever.
It's boring.
She gets on the trail, and like, at first it was like, oh, that brushed my side, or what's that rustling in the trees? But like, she's looking around, she's taking it all in, she's calmer. If you're tense, she'll be tense, but like, if you talk to her, just talk about your day or just talk in general, it like calms her down and it calms you down, and then she's like in her quote unquote element, right? Like, she's meant to be outdoors, She gets super frustrated in an arena.
So you like riding your horses bareback too. Talk to me about that.
Well, I started out Western because I was a fraidy cat. And then I just knew I wanted to do trails. I didn't even know endurance saddles were a thing, like, because I wasn't in the horse world. But then I found out endurance saddles are basically like a cross between English and Western. There's more to them than an English, less than a Western. So they're like ergonomically going up and down hills, no horn, less weight, and more comfortable over a long period of time. And then I got used to those, and then I went to treeless, which is like a glorified bareback pad. Less of a saddle, more freedom of movement, sitting on a cloud. My butt cheeks didn't hurt as much. And then I went straight from that to bareback, which is no stirrups. And now my knees don't hurt, and I feel better, and I feel more connected to my horse. And if I'm in not the greatest shape, then I get sore after a short period of time. But I've been in seasons where I can ride for 3 hours in a bareback pad, and it's totally fine. Love it.
I love riding bareback as well. And one of the things that I love the most about it is how you can feel your horse better too. Do you find that that's true for you?
I can feel when she's having a bad day, even like she's just not having it. It's just not, she doesn't feel in rhythm and sync, and they're very rhythmic creatures when they move. Just with her leg injury, like, I can tell she's just not feeling it that day, or if things feel tight and she's just not wanting to do it. And then I've jumped her bareback before with the bareback pad, and she's great. And then, like, I don't know if you have ever jumped just for funsies in the woods, but like where they get that, like, it's almost like an adrenaline rush. And after they jump and then they like take off and they're like, let's go do more. I feel like the bareback pad lets me literally recognize their energy level, just what they're up for that day. It makes me feel more connected to her. Like, I don't spend the whole time riding. Sometimes I'll just stop and literally lay back on my horse and just like take deep breaths, and I hear her taking deep breaths with me. I feel like it's let me enjoy the sunset more. Sometimes I'll untack her and let her just eat grass for a little bit, and then I can throw it back on and hop back on and keep going. I do need a rock to get back on though. I have specific spots on the Air Force Academy trails where I'm like, oh, I can get off here. Oh, I can get off here. Yeah. This one time, so Tansy has some reservations about riding in the snow. I think mostly just like, really, do we have to? There's this big concrete brick that the academy has for like the pipeline there. I took her bareback pad off and I was just like letting her sit, and we were just I was taking pictures of her. And she heard a horse like down by the barns like whinny or something, and she like looked that direction and took off without me, and I was like, this girl. That was like straight up like, I'm gonna do what I want, like complete sass. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm like hauling this bareback pad back, which it's not heavy, but like if you're in a foot of snow and you're wearing like 5 layers, it's actually a lot. Not a fun time. Luckily, I was wearing like a super bright pink sweater, and a truck comes up the road this way and like ATV that way. And they're like, we saw your horse come back without you. Are you okay? And I was like, yep, totally fine. Everything's fine. We're all fine. My horse is just throwing a temper tantrum. It's okay. But they do, they have personalities and minds of their own, and they do what they want sometimes. And you have to give them space too. Like, they're feeling creatures. Like, it's not a dirt bike. It's not a car. They have a brain and a heart, and you have to let them feel and be open to what they're feeling. Sometimes I don't have a good day. Sometimes she doesn't have a good day. And I feel like the bareback pad allows me to gauge that way more accurately than in a saddle. Don't get me wrong, I still ride in a saddle sometimes, and I enjoy a saddle here and there depending on what I'm doing. But by and large, the bareback pad is definitely my top choice. And I've almost come off, like I'll like lose my balance here and there. But it makes me feel a little safer too, like if I have to come off or if I have to bail. Right, and I have done that. I'll be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go into this tree and duck," and, like, the branches don't break, and they just literally take me right off, and I'll be like, "Yeah, so I came off my horse the other day," and my client's like, "Oh, she bucked you off?" I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. No. This was me being dumb, going under a tree that was way too low hanging for me. It's not her fault." I've bailed bareback quite a few times, or, like, I know I'm gonna come off and I just choose it my way, and to me, I feel safer, and I know my horse. Would I just hop on any horse bareback? No, no, like, I wouldn't go to the barn and hop on a tree right now bareback. Horses that I'm familiar with, like, I used to ride Lily bareback all the time. I love that horse bareback. She's super fun. But, like, I'm just getting to the point now where Stardust, I wanna ride her bareback now. She has big movement though, and, like, her legs are long, and I'm not used to her. I'm at the point now where that I'm ready for it. The biggest thing is she just doesn't love a mounting block, and I absolutely cannot get on her without one. So, if you bring the mounting block to her, she's okay with it, but you can't bring her to the mounting block. She's very particular. So we're working on it because that's a little silly.
Sounds like a good opportunity for some positive reinforcement, maybe.
But see, she won't eat treats. Like, she cannot be manipulated. She can't be bought. She'll eat treats if they're on her terms. But, like, if she's nervous or uppity, treats don't calm her down. She's like, "No, you can't bribe me." It's really more of, like, a distraction. Like, if she decides it could be a potential problem, you have to be like, "No, it's not, but let's go over here and think about this first, and then we'll come back to this." Like, she overthinks. But once she's like, "Yeah, this is fine," she's good.
What advice would you give to someone who is horse curious?
Volunteer to rescue. Get your hands dirty. Like I said, sit amongst them, scoop poop, just get to know them. Like, I was so content and happy not owning horses, just being around them. It started at the horse park, and then it went to into the rescue, and I really didn't think that I knew I loved Tansy, but I didn't think that she would be mine, and I was really okay with that at first, like, I just wanted her to get healthy and have a good life, and I wanted someone to give her everything she needed. I just didn't think it would be me, but just it's rewarding to and I didn't just work with Tansy, I worked with all of those rescue horses, like, I loved all of them. I just was bonded to Tansy, but it's so rewarding to, like, see a horse go, even if they're not necessarily fully emaciated, but just to like come from a bad situation and like rehab and see them go on to a new life. I think too, just anybody suffering with like mental health or anything like that, volunteering at a rescue with horses and getting to see them get a second chance, it takes the focus off of you and putting your energy into something more, something bigger. And not that you don't like need or deserve good things, but like they'll help you find it.
Right. Being of service to them is a service to you.
Exactly. And they'll give you more than what you expect. You'll go in being like, I heard horses are really good for, XYZ. And then you'll just be like, wow, I just had no idea. Like I don't know anybody who hasn't worked with horses that hasn't been blown away. Their magnetic field is massive and they read facial expressions and they're so smart, but they can calm you down and it's a give and take, right? And so I think anybody horse curious is just be a sponge, be open to criticism, both positive and negative, because again, the horse world has given me some of the best relationships I've ever had and some of the worst relationships I've ever had. And horses help you kind of filter that out. But there's always lessons to be learned in the horse world from humans and horses. And to dive right in and just be willing to um, I think if you have good intentions, the right people will find you and just be willing to learn all the things. And the hands-on experience is where you learn it really. And just getting, you don't even have to get dirty, but that was my favorite part was getting dirty and feeling like you put in a hard day's work at a rescue. I remember having to like the barn was flooding and we were like digging trenches and just with all the moisture, the stalls got packed down pretty heavily and man, like, you can get some muscles doing barn chores, and so, like, it's like a free gym membership, and then you feel really good, and you burn calories, and you eat, like, a solid meal, and then the horses fill you up emotionally, and it's like all the boxes get checked. It's the best kinda tired. So, I mean, that's where I started, and I didn't know anything, really. I mean, like, I learned stuff from my little horse books growing up, but it's the down and dirty hands-on experience that you really learn, not just, like, actual skills, but what you can gain from just that lifestyle. And I know people who like that's all they do is just volunteer at rescues and stuff. And if I had more time between work and a toddler and my own horses, I would be volunteering. Like it's just such a passion. My ultimate goal is to have a ranch where I can actually have like a therapy ranch and I want it geared specifically towards women and geared specifically towards women with PTSD because I have PTSD from a medical trauma and I have gotten a lot of healing through my horses, and I think there's a lot of women out there with PTSD that don't necessarily wanna do programs with men, and unfortunately, a lot of the programs out there for, wounded warriors, this, that, and the other for veterans inundated with men, and that's not a problem. There's a need for sure. But I think that if women have PTSD from some sort of trauma that involved a man, they're not gonna really wanna do some sort of horse experience with men. Just yeah, and I think that having, mares would be super fun. They're definitely a passion for me is I just love mares. I love their spicy attitudes, but I think a rescue mare is something really special, and I would love to bring in a lot of those and have a safe place for women to experience horses either on the ground or in the saddle. I would like to have both available, and I would like to integrate faith and my faith journey and their faith journey, as well as maybe even like some spa kind of like self-care, kind of aspects. So we shall see. That's the dream. People are like, I'll come try it out. It sounds amazing. I would love to do like kind of like a spa experience, like massage, facials, nails.
And for the horses too.
I mean, I've heard of horse yoga. I have some reservations about yoga, but I really just want a safe place where people can feel rejuvenated and relaxed. And I want horses absolutely to be a part of the program. And I already have, such a background in the beauty industry, but my personal business is called Inner Beauty Nails and Skin because I really firmly believe that beauty is cultivated inward and reflected outward. And that if you take care of your inner beauty, it will reflect outwardly because I think people of all ages can be beautiful, wrinkles and all. So, yeah.
What advice would you give someone who has a horse but might be struggling to cultivate a deeper relationship or bond?
But don't give up. I always try and tell people, like, if they want to get into horses, volunteering at a rescue just to kind of see what kind of horse might match up best with you. But, I don't think that horses, like, I don't think you should force a relationship with a horse. Like, if it's not coming naturally, there is a market where you can truly want what's best for the horse and maybe find a different owner and look for that one horse. But like, I've also met people who just cycle through horses like water, and I don't understand that either. I feel like there's like a happy medium where, I just think you have to be on a quest and just not give up. But then also maybe, I mean, everybody goes through seasons. Just I go through seasons where I have to, even as bonded as I am to Tansy, like it just feels like so much work emotionally and mentally. And so to give it like a good solid chance. But if you are a person that like you're like, I want to do barrel racing, or I want to do gymkhana, or I want to do endurance or whatever, like you definitely want to find a horse that wants to do that too. Like Tansy loves trails, and I've done an endurance race with her, and she fed off the energy great, but like just with her old injury, she'd never be able to do long ones, and she'd never pass vet checks. And I've been told like she's not feeling pain, she's just weak in that leg, like it's just not strong. And so like she is limited. But at the end of the day, when it's just me and her, man, she will jet up a hill that is rocky and full of trees like it is her job, because it is her job and she loves her job. So who am I to say you can't trail ride anymore? I'm going to let her do what she loves. I'm just not going to compete. And I had the same experience when I did that gated lesson, and I was practicing it in the arena just like the instructor taught me. And I could just see her getting frustrated. She's like, "Why are we doing this when we're so good at something else?" And I was like, "Yeah, right." So I occasionally like get her, I have to collect her in a certain way. And like those muscles that make her gait best are not in the best shape. But like if I can get her body in the right position, I can get her to gait on the trail. So I like just practice it every now and then because it's something she knows, and it switches it up on the trail. So then we're not doing just the same old trail anymore. I'm like making her do it in a different way. And so it does keep it kind of fresh. I don't regret taking lessons. I don't regret learning a couple of things here and there that I don't do on the regular, because it just makes me a bit more well rounded. And the horse trainer that I've had working with Stardust is more English based, and she's helped me to like feel Tansy's body softening and like giving, and doing just more work with like feeling her mouth and connecting with her on a physical level. And so I just don't think anybody's too old to learn new things, and even if you're really good at one thing, it doesn't mean that you can't improve that one thing by switching up either what you're doing for training or whatever. And again, I'll learn something in an arena, but that doesn't mean I practice it in the arena. I try and learn it in an arena and then take it out on the trail and do it on the trail, all the things hitting her sides. And now nothing phases her. So she just needed exposure and miles, and I don't have the time to do that right now. So I let someone else do it for me. But with running my own business and having an actual toddler, like I think that if I had more time to put into Stardust, I'd be able to like gauge those things a little bit better. But that's why I hired Anna, is just because it's what she does on the daily. She has experience with Mustangs. She knows Stardust's type, right? And so she's just like, honestly, she just needs the confidence. But she hadn't really learned from anybody solidly of tying to a trailer. And so, Anna brought her back up to her field, and she was like, just so you know, she's got rope burns on her face because she's set back on the trailer. And she's like, I'm still trying to figure out if like she's genuinely afraid or if she's throwing a tantrum. And like day two, she put a different halter on her, and she was like, yeah, she's definitely throwing a tantrum, because it was like there were other horses around and all that. And then like a couple days, like she started bringing the horses around more often so that she wasn't at the trailer alone. And then she learned like, oh, I don't get to just get out of this. It's fine. And now she's like, she stood at the trailer for 3 hours and was completely fine. So like she just needed to get over her little sassy self. But I think that just I don't have the time to pick up on that, whereas Anna, that's what she does for a living. And so just adding Stardust to her docket of horses, she's watching Stardust all day long. I don't have hours to spend up at the barn to watch what Stardust is doing and to figure out if she's sitting back because she's throwing a tantrum or because she's scared. And she was throwing a tantrum because she wanted to go with the other horses. So I think just that's where like bringing in a professional, it doesn't mean I can't do it. It's just I don't have the bandwidth at this moment in my life. And so, and the other thing too is I told the trainer, I was like, I know the things and I know Stardust and Stardust knows me. Like I would love to work with her more, but like also if I do get hurt, I can't not work. Like working is how I pay for my horses and keep them, going. And then like I have a toddler, so like I can't break an arm and not be able to pick her up. It's just too much of a risk. It's not that I can't do it or that I don't want to do it. It's just for me, it's more of like this is what this person does for a living. I don't have the actual time that Stardust requires of me right now, and I want what's best for Stardust and what's best for me. And I think it's one thing to like send your horse off to a trainer and just be hands off. And it's another thing, like Anna and I are boarding at the same place right now. So like I'm seeing Stardust daily and she's seeing Stardust daily. Stardust is being ridden by her daily. And then if she's in the field, I'll get her out and ride her daily. So like I feel like it's more of like a partnership versus just like, here's my horse. Good luck. It's like I want updates. I want pictures. I want videos. These are the things I know she's struggling with. What was your, thing on it? So like I took her out. I didn't even tell Anna I was taking her out. I took her out. We took her to the water. She's been through water many times, but I was leading and she didn't want to go through the water. But as soon as Tansy went through, she went through. And it was like a downhill. And I felt her just like really bearing her weight on her front feet. Like she like thwomps down the hill. It's like thwomp, thwomp, thwomp. There's nothing graceful about it. And then I was riding with the trainer and she was bringing Stardust back to her field. And she was like, yeah, I just noticed that like she's so uncoordinated when walking downhill. She just like throws all her weight into the front end. And it's like, you have a butt, use it, And so I was like, oh, so I noticed that too. So like we're able to bounce off of each other and it's not just like again, like here's my horse. Yeah. It's like I want to be involved and doing it with her. And I think that people who just drop their horse off and expect it to just be like come back perfect, it might have been perfect for that person, for the trainer. But like if you're not putting in the time and hours to figure out that horse's quirks or like the things it needs work on or the things it's not confident in, then like you're doing a disservice to you or your horse. And yep, and Stardust has been through uh a whole gambit of trainers at this point, and all of them I think have offered just something a little bit different, and have taught me something different. But I still learned, like I still was able to take something from that experience. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. There's just to me, there's just endless things to learn when it comes to horses. It's a never ending saga. Having three horses is a lot. Let me tell you. Start out with one, just one. At least Tansy and Pearl were like a 2 for 1. That was like a oops, but yeah, they're a lot.
Yeah, what was your first thought when you learned that Tansy was pregnant?
I was like excited and scared just because she was so bad off that I was like, man, this like could be really sweet, but I'm like, I just wanted her to just be okay. And I was really worried she wasn't going to be okay. But here we are. Because Tansy is a really fabulous mom. As I've said, she's very maternal. But the first 3 or 4 days, like she wouldn't let Pearl nurse and she didn't have any milk. And I really do think she was just hanging on. And so she had to get past that like danger zone before she could focus on being an actual mom.
So, switching gears, you have some of the coolest pieces of tack that I've ever seen. Tell me more about that. It looks like it's really fancy and pretty expensive too, probably.
They're never cheap, but you know what? When I have had a bad day here and there, I've been like, you know what I deserve today? I deserve a new piece of tack. And even if it's one of those things where it's used, but it's new to me, I'm like, you know what? It's been a rough day or a rough week and I just need this. I also have a problem with custom tack because since my horses are named Tanzanite and Pearl, I've gotten a lot of things inlaid with expensive gems. There's a lady that's got an amazing shop. She makes everything homemade and like she cuts the leather herself. I sent her the stones, so that was really helpful. But I have a beautiful halter inlaid with pearls for Pearl. Yeah.
So, what's the biggest takeaway? What's at the heart of what you would like to share with our listeners today?
I really just feel in my experience, both having seen the horses at the horse park and rescues and just different boarding facilities and things like that, I am the kind of person I'm always going to advocate for the horse. Again, I've met amazing horse people, but horses just are so incredible. And again, they offer so much that I feel like it's only right that we offer them nothing but good things. And horses that have experienced trauma are generally forgiving. There are some that are just angry and have a lot of bitterness or pain. And I think the best solution for horses in general is to just let them be. I'm looking at horse properties right now out in South Carolina, and people are like, "Oh, do you need a barn? Do you need this?" And I'm like, "No, I really don't." Like, yes, they need a shelter, but you can get that with trees. I don't have to worry about hail out there, so thank God. But it's just I think there's just something to be said about horses are happiest and healthiest when they're able to just be horses, and I don't think that people who stall their horses are bad people. I just think that you might be potentially slighting your horse from their full potential by trying to protect them, but then you run the risk of things like stress and ulcers and colic and, pacing and cribbing and all the things that happen when your horses are in a stall for too long. And I just hope that people would just pause and consider, how is my horse acting and what's the best thing that I can do for them? Because the best way for your horse to be happy, healthy, and live a long life is to let them be the way they are. I think we're all rooting for the horse owner, and so I've just become passionate about what is best for the horse. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of horses out there that have happy, loving owners that are just trying to do the right thing. And I think that there could be more happy, responsible horse owners, and there's a lot of horses to be rescued. So,
I feel so blessed that you've been willing to come on and really share your heart and share your testimony. I'm just blown away by how having horses and being a horsewoman has, shaped not just the architecture of your life, but your faith specifically.
it has made me realize that God sees me in a different way than the world and the way that my horses see me. And if you are doubting your worth or your capabilities or your qualification, just get quiet with God and let Him remind you who you are, and whose you are. And I truly feel like royalty when I'm with my horses. And I know that He gave them to me and He's provided for them for me. I'm super, super, super nervous about moving to South Carolina because I don't have clients. Like, I have a thriving business here and I have no clients there. And that is how I have facilitated and stewarded my horses. Like, I feel like my horses have been given to me to steward. Like, they belong to God and He has given them to me to take care of. But they truly are His creatures. Anytime that there's been a gap that I can't fill, He has filled it. And so, for me, I'm really trusting God right now that He's gonna provide in South Carolina. Like, my horses are not my pets, they're my family. They're non-negotiable, and so I'm having to physically trust God because I don't have the means, I don't have the clients. I'm saving up as much as I can to provide for them when I get there, but there's going to be a time where the money runs out, and I can only just hope that by then I'll have a job or be making enough to make ends meet. I currently have a place to keep them, and I'm working with the lady that owns that property to, she's running a therapy farm. So I'm like, maybe my horse can be therapy, maybe I can do chores around the barn, all the things. But I'm just trusting that God will provide because He has it for 12 years. And that's not a small thing. And so I want all my ducks in a row, but they're not. They're all scattered and they make no sense. So I'm just trusting that He will put them in a row when they need to be put in a row, just as He always has. So on a personal spiritual level, it's made me feel the most worthy I've ever felt in my life of any good thing. And when I have felt unworthy, I go to the barn and I talk to God and I'm like, "Why have you done this? Why have you gifted them to me? Why I shouldn't I'm a terrible person because I've done XYZ, I don't deserve this." And He reminds me that I do deserve it, that He wants me to be in my element and that He put me there because it's where I belong. And that He has forgiven me and forgiven me and forgiven me again for anything and everything that I've done and ever will do, and that He still wants me, and that He knew everything I would do when He gave them to me, and He still gave them to me because He knew that they were meant for me. So, there's never any question or doubt in my mind that I'm not where I'm supposed to be and that I'm supposed to have them. But they're daily reminders of the grace that I've been given. They are daily reminders of amazing grace, which I know means a lot to you. So, yeah, I would just say right now I'm in a season of like really trusting because I don't know what's on the other side in South Carolina. All I know is that's where we're going and they're coming with me. You know how many people have asked me, like, are your horses going with you? Yes. They're the longest relationship I've ever had. Like I have literally, they've been in my life longer than anything except my parents. Like, I have a truck and trailer. Why would I not bring them? And if I didn't, I would figure it out. Like, it's wild to me. But people who know me well, they're like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Like, hopefully you'll find a great house where you can just have them out your back window. And I'm like, that's the dream. And that's kind of like my last goal. Like, I kind of just promised Tansy, I really want her to just live out her days on property that belongs to me, that I can just watch her as she gets old and just make sure that she's okay every day and
Just be with her.
yeah.
Well, I will miss you dearly. I know your whole community here will miss you dearly, but I'm also so excited for you and your next chapter and your beautiful family and your horses. And it's been such a gift to have you on. And thank you so much for sharing your heart with us and the journey and the emotions and even the tears. It's been such a gift getting to chat with you.
I'm glad. It's one of those things where it's like, there's just so many people that just feel so disqualified from owning horses, and I'm just like, if you just give it a chance. Like, I literally didn't know anything, and I still have so much to learn.
Mhm.
You
And wow, I certainly learned so much from this conversation with Rebecca, and I hope my listeners did too. If you enjoyed this episode of the Daily Ride podcast, make sure that you are following or subscribed to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to us on, and give us a rating, leave a comment. I really appreciate feedback so I can keep delivering life-changing educational content for you. And be sure to check out www.the-daily-ride.com to learn more about True Heart Healing and make a donation to help support us. Thank you so much for being here. And until the next time, enjoy the ride.